All right, guys.
All right, bye.
I think that was a really good call.
I do too. He's
It
a
went
really
well.
cool guy.
Yeah.
But I think it's time to move to the next caller. So you know what that means,
I think
right?
I do as well. Are they lined up?
Yes,
will
they
see.
are. And through the magic of editing,
Through the
they'll be
magic.
right there. So are you ready? 1,
Two,
2, 3.
three.
All right. And we're back. And you know what? That was pretty quick, huh?
Yeah, it was magically quick.
Ooh. All right. We've got Janet on the line. Janet, are you there?
I am.
Janet! How's it going?
What's up?
How you guys doing?
Good,
Marvelous.
good. So last time we spoke, we tried to do a multi-person call with
that's
Hamish, right?
Yeah, but you were
Yes.
struck down by the Lord.
The Lord.
I was. Yeah, apparently I was struck down by the Lord.
You were smote, smote down by the Lord.
Yeah, and you know,
We're getting
typical Hamish. We were just going to run around in circles anyway, so it's okay.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it. You're sounding way better right now than you were at the time, though.
Yeah, I decided to use my landline instead of my my cell phone. So hopefully it's a better connection.
Beautiful, beautiful. You'll be able to see it when it airs. It's fantastic. But we wanted to ask you, what do you have for us today?
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about indoctrination and community.
Okay.
So sometimes we encounter relatively new, they're newly announced atheists, and they're still struggling with some of the things that plagued them during their religious past. Like, for example, maybe they're coming to grips with not having an afterlife, or thoughts of hell, Satan, sin. And I think we as a community, we need to come together and understand that not everyone can just flip a switch and become an instant skeptic and have all of the answers overnight. Maybe some can, or maybe they didn't grow up with religion and they don't have that experience. So if you didn't have that experience, that's great, but not everyone can do that. So I kind of want to talk about, how that's a process and a journey, and that we need to help each other along. I know Recovering from Religion, that's a great site and a great resource, and it's a good place to start. But it doesn't really address the issue of community as far as reaching out to others in Facebook or in person, and how we need to have a little bit more patience and understanding and support and encourage those people who are new. And understand that they have trauma from that indoctrination.
They do.
And what I often see is that they'll be put down, or at least it comes across as being put down. Because, somebody might say that they don't believe in God, because they're an atheist, but maybe they're still afraid of hell. Or they're afraid of dying and there's no afterlife.
Sure.
And sometimes the responses you hear are, that's silly. If you don't believe in Satan, or if you don't believe in God, you shouldn't believe in hell. If you don't believe in Santa, you shouldn't believe in, hell. So they try to belittle it by comparing it to something that's you outgrew. So you don't have an adult, telling you, pounding into your head your entire life that Santa is real. They let you give up that, when you're a child. And so you don't have the same trauma that you have with religion. And meanwhile, all of your family and a lot of your peers are still telling you it's true. So I really kind of want to address that and say that, they're not only are they needing to understand, this new life that they've just gone into of being an atheist, but also that it's okay to be afraid and to have that trauma, and we need to acknowledge it and try to support them more.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, also, it's very much not, you've realized that through, the application of skepticism, you don't have a good reason to believe in God, and so you can come to the conclusion, cognitively, I don't believe that a God exists and I don't have a reason to. But it's particularly for people that are indoctrinated, it's also, you have to rebuild every aspect of your mind and epistemology from the ground up, and that's not an easy task.
That's a lot of building.
Yeah, it's a lot of building and being mocked.
And even if you logically know, like you can acknowledge that, okay, there is no God, there is no Satan. Like, those can go hand in hand. But that still doesn't alleviate the fear of hell right away.
Well,
oftentimes it doesn't. Because that's something that was like so ingrained in you, fire and brimstone, your entire life. And you can't suddenly let that go. Like, logic can only go so far. It can't erase the trauma.
That, and there are people that have, like, a fear of dogs, or a fear of snakes, of poisonous snakes. And they can be told, like, here's a small garter snake. Its mouth literally isn't large enough to really bite you, but being near it is still frightening, right?
Yeah.
That's something that a person can be born with a tendency to be afraid of. Indoctrination was just hammered, programmed almost into a person's mind from a young age. But it's along those same lines. So even being told, no, this isn't a poisonous snake, or even like, this snake is dead, but it's a real snake, and then just having someone wiggle it across a table, that can still be unbelievably unnerving for someone who is afraid of snakes.
Yeah, and I mean,
and it's the same thing, and you wouldn't make fun of someone like, oh, well, okay, you might. If they're a friend of yours and they jump on a table. But,
Jamie?
Yeah, I'm going to not talk over Eric.
No, I just wanted to ask you, were you ever afraid of hell?
Yes, but the parts of my... so much of my brain turned out differently for different reasons in my upbringing that I was very, 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 very good at compartmentalizing and not thinking at all about things. That I was able to stow that in a box next to realizations about myself and I was terrified. The funny thing is when I think back to when I was a believer, especially as a child, mostly it wasn't fear for me. It was this deep tragedy, this deep sense of sadness that there's a place that exists where people are being tormented. And I didn't even have that strong of an understanding of the kind of torture that is explicitly in the Bible, but just the idea of it. I remember just every time I thought about it just being so sad.
Well, I'll tell you, in my faith, they actually did tell you all about it, and they did not, try to shy away from scaring everything out of you. I mean, they did. They described it to the point of, you're going to be so thirsty that you'll beg for a drop of water on your tongue, and it's like, oh my goodness. I mean, it really is a very traumatic thing. I mean, it was hard for me to overcome the thoughts of hell even after. I mean, I actually never really truly believed in God. I tried, but I really couldn't make myself do it. But the thoughts of hell scared me for a long time, even after I finally admitted to myself that I didn't believe in God.
Yeah. Hey, Janet, well, I've got you on the line. Can I ask you about something else? Can I bring up something else?
Sure.
So I saw that you were posting online about antitheism, the difference between atheism and antitheism.
Yes.
Did you come up with anything from there? Anything you wanted to talk about? Or is it okay if I present it? Because I thought it was an really interesting topic.
Okay, so not too long ago, a few months ago actually, I posted that I had feelings myself that I was leaning more towards anti-theism as opposed to just atheism. And everyone was actually very supportive of it, and they said that, that's a natural progression. That you start to understand more about, not believing, and then you start to get angry, and you start to, you want to, basically lash back out at the people who caused that oppression. And while I understand that, I started, actually, you guys are basically the reason why there was a recent change and why I asked that question. It was from your show, and then also I started watching more Anthony, the street epistemology, because he was on your show. I started watching. I was already watching him before a little bit, but I really wasn't watching him from the beginning. So I started going back to the beginning of all of his videos, and I started watching it, and I thought between you guys and Anthony, and I got to also say Phil Sessions, and Tracy, that your approach is just more gentle, I'm going to say, and that it's almost like, I live in the South. You can catch more flies with honey.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so I can be anti-theist and scream and shout about how wrong religion is and all the wrongs it does in the world, and it does. Or I can try to shift my way I approach it into a more positive way. And then I started thinking about, they start every atheist experience with the Aka statement, the positive atheism. And I was like, okay, that's the answer. That's what I need to do. I need to be a more positive approach, to atheism. And, so that's what that was. The entire thing was about, and actually leads me to the topic that I brought up today. That the community needs to embrace a little bit more positivity and acceptance, even amongst themselves.
Can I throw you a curveball, Janet?
Sure.
So I think it was our first or second episode. Somebody asked if we could press a button and end all religion right now. Would we press it? And I started pressing on the table. Yes, I'd press the button. I think that's anti-theism. I mean, I don't think you need to
It is anti-theism.
I don't think you need to be angry. I don't think you need to be lashing out. You can.
Right.
But I think that the difference for me, where I stand on atheism and anti-theism, is that those are not mutually exclusive propositions.
They are not.
Right.
And I agree with that. And I think that you can be positive and still be anti-religion.
Well,
I just think that there's a tendency to be insulting with it instead of trying to lead people to the answer that you want them to logically come to. So it's more the negativity that I want to put an end to, as opposed to anti-religion. I'd be all for pressing the button and eliminating religion. However, I can't really speak for other people, either. And if in some cases, and I know people are going to be up in arms, especially in the comment section about this, but if religion brings people comfort and that's all they use it for, who am I to deny them that? So I can't say that, religion's always bad for all people. I don't think that's my decision to make.
Have you heard of? Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I know that people say that. I'm sure that someone can come up with an example where that is all that a person uses it for. But I kind of disagree.
I see where you're going with that, and I would tend to agree.
I was going to bring up,
but still, I would have a hard time making that decision for the world. So I'm not sure,
No, and that's a very humble approach. Yeah. No,
I was going to bring up platonic cuddling. Have you seen the platonic cuddling groups? Like they're a thing now. People get together, and it's just you just cuddle, and it's not sexual. It's just a big cuddle fest. I know, right? Doesn't that sound amazing?
Yeah.
There's nobody that is in your platonic cuddling group that you would cover for if you saw them raping somebody.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
And that is just one more thing you can tick off. One more edifice that would not be available for predators. But
if you believe in a God, then you believe in a being that's more important than human beings. And I disagree.
And I don't think that's where you're coming from at all. Like I'm totally running on the assumption you're talking about if it started off as a system that was only there for comfort and only became something that was there for comfort, then why
and not every religion is, the Christian God either. I did say religion, I didn't say Christianity.
Right.
There might be a few religions I'd wipe off the map, but I think that there maybe are some more religions that are more insightful than others.
True enough. Taoism. I really enjoyed Taoism.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I by no means think that Christianity should hang around.
Yeah. Well, I would also say it doesn't even have to be a system for me. An individual that says, you know what, And I know a person like this that says, like, where I was going to bring up something in the Bible, and they say, you know what, I don't care what's in the Bible, I'm a Jesus lover, which means also that if you told them, like, hey, this priest was a rapist, they might say, like, you know what, he was a good person because he's a priest or whatever, but rape is wrong, right? They would add that second part, the part that seems to evade other people when they're being rape apologists because Jesus told them to or whatever. But even in that case, even in a case where they don't feel solidarity just because someone else calls himself a Christian, even if they're a rapist, even in the case where they don't give money to that organization, even in a case where all that person does is that is explicitly religious is pray before they go to bed and pray over meals. Even if you discount they create an environment where where other people feel like their religion is okay. For that person, it's still in their mind that there is a God and that is an accurate way of viewing the world and that is a good way of thinking about what is true and how to figure out what is true. And for me...
That's a good point.
That's harm
that's a very good point.
Done.
You don't want to perpetuate that idea.
No, and you actually, Jamie, had a little piece that I want to... a little flaw in the way you brought that up, and I want to bring it up because I think that it's indicative of a larger thing. Yeah. And that is that the camera's still on you. They don't know what I'm doing. I could be doing anything.
Yeah, I know.
Ha-ha.
I kept trying to look over to hint. It's the thing.
That's okay. Well, no, we're just gonna focus in on you.
My mouth.
Okay. So what I was gonna say was that let's say Jacob is a good neighbor, right? If you found out that Jacob was a rapist, you wouldn't be saying, "Oh, Jacob's a good neighbor, but rape is wrong," right? You said this person's a pastor and that's good, but rape is wrong. No, you'd say Jacob is a rapist.
Yeah, and nothing else would be relevant.
No, it would not, and it doesn't. And the fact is you don't say but rape is wrong as if that is something that exists outside of Jacob. Because
Jacob
if he's
right-handed, but rape is wrong, it would be ridiculous.
No,
I would say why would the first part matter to anything?
No, Jacob is the rapist.
Yeah.
Screw you, Jacob.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm back.
Yay.
All right.
He still exists. Yeah.
So, Janet, I think we're gonna.
Are we?
I think we're gonna move on to the next caller.
Okay.
You about ready?
Okay. I just want to say one more thing that I was talking to the other moderator, Chelsea, and we were discussing how isolating it can be to raise your kid in a secular environment. So I want you at some point to talk about the group.
Yeah.
Actually.
If you could bring that up and that's another way that people need support, especially when they're new to atheism, and especially when you have children who may be under the influence of family members who are still trying to indoctrinate them. So if you could talk about that at some point, I would really appreciate it.
All right, you ready for this? You ready for this? Number one, I love you and Chelsea. We both do.
Hi, Chelsea.
Tell her, hi, and we say hi. And number two, that's our next caller.
Yay! All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. You take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Janet, the Thunder Thief, stealing our thunder.
I'm loving it. And I hope that we can keep her as a fan and a friend, and I'm absolutely proud to be in a community where she is, because she's an amazing person.
If she somehow converted, I don't know how we would be able to counter the fantastic force of positivity and energy that Janet would be frightening.
Yeah.
We would still disagree, but she is a powerful force
Janet,
in existence.
We love you.